My girlfriend said, "I'm not introducing you to my new coworkers. They think I'm single and it's good for networking." I said, "Professional boundaries matter." Then I showed up at her office holiday party as a +1 of her married coworker. When I introduced myself as her boyfriend to her entire department. Original post. I, 29 male, am a diesel mechanic. I work on fleet trucks for a regional logistics company. My hands are permanently stained with grease. I own exactly 2 dress shirts, and I will never in my life use the word synergy in a sentence. I say this because it matters for context. My girlfriend, now ex, started a new job about 5 months ago at a mid-sized marketing agency. She'd been in marketing for a few years, but this was her big break. Better title, better salary, culture-forward environment, her words. She was genuinely excited, and I was genuinely happy for her. Took her out to celebrate, bought her a new leather portfolio she'd been eyeing, the whole deal. Things were fine for the first couple months. She'd come home and talk about her team, the projects, the office happy hours. I'd listen, ask questions, be supportive. Normal relationship stuff. Then around month 3, I started noticing something. She never mentioned me at work. Like ever. I wasn't in any of her stories. When she talked about her weekends, it was always, "I went to this restaurant," or "I watched this movie," never "we." At first I figured she was just keeping things professional. Some people don't talk about their personal lives at work. I respected that. But then she started dodging plans that would put me anywhere near her coworkers. Her team went to a rooftop bar one Friday. I offered to meet up after. She said it was a team thing. Her department had a casual cookout at her boss's place. Partners were invited. She told me she didn't want to overwhelm people with introductions this early. That was at month 3. At month 5, she still hadn't mentioned my existence to a single person she worked with. I finally brought it up one night. We were on the couch. She was scrolling through her work Slack on her laptop, and I said, "Hey, your holiday party is coming up, right? Am I going with you?" She closed the laptop, slowly, which is never a good sign. "So, I need to talk to you about that," she said. She told me her new coworkers thought she was single. Not because anyone asked, but because she'd never corrected the assumption. She said it started accidentally, but then became strategic. She said being perceived as single made her more approachable for networking, that people were more willing to invite her to things, include her in after-hours events, and that it was better for her career trajectory. I asked, "So your career trajectory requires me not to exist?" She said, "Don't make it weird. It's just how corporate culture works. People relate to you differently when they think you're available. It opens doors." I said, "What kind of doors exactly?" She rolled her eyes. "Networking doors. Professional ones. Not everything is about what you're thinking." I told her, calmly, that I understood professional boundaries, but that there's a difference between keeping your personal life private and actively pretending your boyfriend of 2.5 years doesn't exist. She said I was being insecure. I said, "Professional boundaries matter. But you're not setting a boundary. You're erasing me." She said, "You're being dramatic. It's not that deep." I dropped it, not because I agreed, because I needed to think. Over the next week, I paid closer attention. I noticed she'd taken down every photo of us on her Instagram. Not deleted, archived. Her profile looked like a curated single-girl mood board. Brunch with friends, solo beach shots, aesthetic coffee pics. I scrolled back 3 months, and there wasn't a trace of me. I checked her LinkedIn. Under her new job, her About section had been rewritten. She'd listed interests including exploring the city and connecting with like-minded professionals. She'd also started posting these mini thought leadership essays that got a suspicious amount of engagement from male colleagues. Lots of "love this take," and "we should grab coffee and discuss this further" comments from guys at her company. I didn't say anything. I just filed it away. Then I got lucky. Or unlucky, depending on how you look at it. A buddy of mine from my rec league basketball team. We'd been playing together for years. Mentioned his wife had just started at a marketing agency. Same one, different department, but same company. I asked him a few casual questions, and he confirmed what I'd suspected. Partners were absolutely welcome at the holiday party. It was a +1 event. He said his wife was taking him. So I asked him, "Would your wife be cool if I tagged along as your +1 instead of my girlfriend's?" He looked confused. I gave him the short version. His exact response: "Bro, that's messed up. Yeah, you're coming with us." Update 1. The party was on a Saturday night at a rented event space. Open bar, catered, DJ, the company went all out. My girlfriend told me she was going with her team and would be home late. Didn't even bother making up an excuse for why I wasn't invited. At this point, she fully believed I'd accepted the arrangement. I put on one of my 2 dress shirts, the navy one, bought a decent pair of slacks from Target that afternoon, and got a haircut. My buddy picked me up at 7. His wife was in the passenger seat, already briefed on the situation. She turned around and said, "I've seen your girlfriend around the office. This is going to be so good." We walked in together. It was a nice setup, string lights, cocktail tables, a photo booth in the corner. I grabbed a drink and scanned the room. Took about 90 seconds to spot her. She was at a high-top table with 4 coworkers, 3 guys and 1 woman, laughing, drink in hand, looking like she was having the time of her life. She did not see me. My buddy's wife introduced me to a few people from her department. Normal small talk. "What do you do?" "Diesel mechanic." "Oh, cool, my uncle does that." Regular party stuff. I was polite, relaxed, not trying to cause a scene. It happened naturally. My buddy's wife was talking to a woman from my girlfriend's department. I'd later find out this was her direct supervisor's assistant, and she said, "Oh, have you met my husband's friend? He's actually dating someone here." The woman looked at me. "Oh, really? Who?" And my buddy's wife, bless this woman, pointed across the room and said, "Er." The woman's face went through about 4 stages. Confusion, recognition, processing, and then a slow, wide-eyed, "Wait, she has a boyfriend?" I said 2.5 years. The woman said, "She told us she was single." Like explicitly. We asked at her welcome lunch. I took a sip of my drink and said, "Yeah, I've been told it's a networking strategy." That woman told 2 people. Those 2 people told 2 more. Within maybe 20 minutes, a quiet ripple had moved through half the room. Nobody was making a scene. It was more like a game of telephone happening in real time over cocktails. I was standing near the bar when one of the guys from her table came up to me. He introduced himself, said he worked on her team, and said, with zero subtlety, "So, you're really her boyfriend?" "Yeah." He looked uncomfortable. She told me she was single. A few times. Actually, I know. I asked her out last month. She said yes, but then canceled. "Cool," I said. And I genuinely meant it neutrally, because what else do you say to that? He walked away looking like he'd swallowed a lemon. Then she saw me. I was talking to my buddy near the photo booth when I heard my name, my actual name, yelled across the room. She was standing about 30 feet away, drink frozen midway to her mouth, face completely white. She walked over. Fast. "What are you doing here?" she hissed. "I'm a +1, I said. "My buddy's wife works here. You know, in your building. Small world. You need to leave. Right now. I'm having a good time, actually. Your coworkers are really nice. Very welcoming. A few of them seem surprised to meet me, though. Can't imagine why." She grabbed my arm and pulled me toward the hallway. My buddy started to follow, but I waved him off. In the hallway, she was shaking. Not from sadness, from rage. "Do you have any idea what you've done?" she said. "Introduce myself to your colleagues?" "Yeah, guilty. They all know now. Everyone. Do you understand how this looks for me? How does it look? Like I'm a liar." I paused. Let that hang in the air. "Yeah," I said. "I guess it does." She told me I'd sabotaged her career and that this was borderline psychotic behavior. I told her I showed up at a party, talked to people, and told the truth. If the truth sabotages your career, the problem isn't the truth. She went back inside. I stayed for another hour. Danced to 2 songs. Had a really good conversation with a project manager about truck engines. Ate 3 sliders. My buddy's wife took a photo of me at the photo booth holding a prop mustache with the biggest grin on my face. That photo is currently my phone wallpaper. My girlfriend didn't come home that night. She stayed at a friend's place. The next morning, I woke up to a text from her that said, "We need to talk. But just so you know, what you did was unforgivable." I texted back, "What I did was show up. What you did was make me disappear. We can talk whenever you're ready, but I'm not apologizing." Update 2. 3 days after the party. She came back to the apartment Monday evening. I figured she'd been stewing all day at work and was ready to unload. I was right. She sat down at the kitchen table and said, "My boss pulled me aside today." I waited. Apparently someone told him that I'd been telling people I was single when I wasn't. He said it raised questions about my honesty in professional settings. She air quoted the whole thing. I said, "And what did you tell him?" I told him it was a personal matter and it had nothing to do with my work. Did he buy that? He said it wasn't about the relationship itself. It was about the pattern of deception. He said trust is the foundation of client-facing work. More air quotes. I didn't respond. I just let her sit with that. Then she pivoted, and this is where it got really ugly. She said, "I need you to call my boss." Excuse me. I need you to call him and tell him that we were on a break when I started this job and that I wasn't technically lying. You can say we just got back together recently. I actually laughed. Not a mean laugh. A genuine, involuntary, are you serious laugh. You want me to lie to your boss? To cover the lie you told your entire office? About me not existing. It's not lying. It's reframing. No, please. I could lose this job. You're not going to lose your job because your coworkers found out you have a boyfriend. You might lose some credibility, but that's not my problem to fix. She cried, told me I was being cruel, told me I didn't understand the pressure women face in corporate environments, that I couldn't relate because I fix trucks for a living. That one landed exactly where she intended it to. I stood up and said, "I fix trucks for a living, and I've never once had to pretend the people I love don't exist to keep my job. Think about that." She left again. Now here's where it gets interesting. Over the next few days, the fallout at her office started compounding. Not because of anything I did, but because of what people discovered once they started paying attention. Remember the guy from her team who told me he'd asked her out? Turns out he wasn't the only one. My buddy's wife, who had become my MVP intelligence source, told me that at least 2 other guys on different teams had also been led to believe she was available. One of them had been buying her lunch regularly. Another had given her a $120 perfume for her birthday, which I now realized was the new perfume from a friend at work she'd mentioned in October. I'd even complimented her on it. But here's the part that really sealed things. One of these guys, the lunch buyer, had a girlfriend, and his girlfriend found out he'd been spending money on a woman at work he thought was single. That started a whole separate fire. The lunch guy's girlfriend apparently showed up at the office lobby one afternoon, not making a scene, but clearly upset, and his team lead had to get involved. HR opened a workplace conduct review, not against my girlfriend directly, but the whole situation created enough noise that people started asking questions about the culture on that team. My girlfriend blamed me for all of it, every bit of it. In her mind, if I just stayed home and accepted being erased, none of this would have happened. She called me 4 times in one day to tell me I'd ruined her reputation and that people were treating her differently. She said women in her department were cold to her now, especially the ones who were in relationships themselves. I said, "They're not cold because you have a boyfriend. They're cold because you lied about not having one, and now they're wondering what else isn't true." She said, "You don't understand corporate dynamics." I said, "You don't understand basic honesty." Then her mom called me, because of course she did. Her mom told me I had humiliated her daughter in front of her professional peers and that I should have handled this privately. I told her that I tried. For 2 months, I tried privately, and her daughter told me I was being insecure and dramatic. Her mom said, "Well, maybe if you had a more impressive career, she wouldn't have felt the need to keep you separate." And there it was, out loud, the thing I'd suspected but never heard confirmed. I wasn't hidden because of networking. I was hidden because a diesel mechanic didn't fit the image she was building. I said, "Thank you. That's actually the most honest thing anyone in your family has said to me in months." And I hung up. That night, I packed her stuff, neatly, folded everything, put it in boxes from the liquor store down the street, stacked them by the front door. The apartment was in my name, always had been, so there was no legal issue. I texted her, "Your things are packed and by the door. You can pick them up any time this week. Leave your key on the counter." She responded, "You're seriously breaking up with me over this?" I said, "I'm breaking up with you because you treated me like something to be ashamed of. The party just made it public." Update 3. It's been about 6 weeks. Here's where everything settled. She picked up her stuff on a Thursday while I was at work. Left the key on the counter like I asked. Also left a handwritten note that said, "I hope one day you realize what you threw away." I read it, folded it, and put it in the recycling bin. At her job, she didn't get fired. I want to be clear about that, because I know some of y'all want the dramatic termination. That's not how real life works. What happened was more of a slow, professional erosion. The HR review about the lunch buyer situation wrapped up without formal action, but it created enough discomfort that people started keeping their distance from her. My buddy's wife told me that she'd been moved off a high-profile client account. Not as punishment, but because the client's team lead specifically requested someone they could build trust with. That's corporate speak for we don't want the person who lies about her personal life handling our brand. She also got passed over for a project lead position she'd been angling for. Her direct supervisor gave it to someone with less seniority. My buddy's wife overheard the supervisor tell another manager, "Talent isn't the issue. Judgment is." None of that was because of me. It was because once people knew the lie, they started evaluating everything else through that lens. Every client interaction, every team meeting, every claim she'd made, people were second-guessing it. Not overtly, not maliciously, just quietly. The way trust erodes when you realize someone was performing the whole time. The guy who asked her out, the one from the party, transferred to a different team. Not because of drama, just because the whole thing made working together awkward. The perfume guy stopped talking to her entirely and asked to be reassigned from their shared project. The lunch buyer's girlfriend apparently called my ex and told her she was pathetic for leading people on while hiding a whole man at home. That must have been a fun voicemail. Her social circle took a hit too. Her best friend, who she'd been staying with after the breakup, eventually got tired of the narrative. My buddy's wife ran into the best friend at a coffee shop, and they got to talking. The best friend said, "I love her, but she keeps saying he ruined her career, and I keep asking her, what did he actually do? And she can never give me a straight answer." Apparently, the best friend told her she needed to take accountability, and my ex responded by calling her unsupportive and not speaking to her for 2 weeks. Her mom kept trying. She texted me once more, a long paragraph about how I'd never find someone as ambitious as her daughter and that I should enjoy my trucks. I didn't respond. I just screenshot it and sent it to my buddy with the caption, "Motivation to stay single for a while." The thing about the perfume, that actually bothered me more than anything else long after the breakup. Not the money, but the fact that I'd smelled it on her neck one night and said, "That's nice, is that new?" And she said, "Yeah, a friend from work got it for me." And I said, "That's thoughtful." And she said, "Yeah, she's sweet." She said she gendered the lie. That level of detail, that's not an omission or a white lie or a networking strategy. That's someone who's practiced a deception. As for me, I'm doing all right. Not great, not terrible. I still have moments where I miss the version of her I thought I was dating. The one who used to sit in the passenger seat of my truck and sing badly to the radio and tell me she loved that I worked with my hands because it meant I could fix anything. Funny how the thing she once loved became the thing she was ashamed of. My buddy and his wife have been solid. They had me over for dinner twice since everything happened. His wife told me, "You deserve someone who brags about you, not someone who hides you." I said, "That's very sweet, but can you please pass the garlic bread?" I still work on trucks. I still play rec league basketball on Wednesdays. I still only own 2 dress shirts, though one of them now has a sentimental attachment to the best photo booth picture ever taken. I don't regret going to that party. Not for a second. Some people would say I should have just broken up with her quietly when I found out. Maybe. But there's something about standing in a room full of people who were told you don't exist and saying, "Actually, I'm right here," that mattered to me. Not as revenge, as proof. Proof to myself that I'm not something to hide. She's still at the same company, last I heard. Still in the same role. Still single, for real this time. And somewhere in her phone, I'm probably still saved as something. Maybe my name, maybe do not answer, maybe the mechanic. I don't know. I don't care. Because in my phone, her contact is deleted entirely. Not archived, not renamed, deleted. Because unlike her, when I move on, I actually do.